Our fourth and final reader is Joanne. So in 2014, Joanne Zienty won the first soon-to-be-famous Illinois Author Contest, sponsored by the Illinois Library Association and Rails Library System. For the, you threw me off there, of her debut novel, The Things We Save. She was a finalist for the 2016 Book Life Prize, sponsored by Publishers Weekly, and in 2017 was named an Emerging Voice by the College of DuPage. Her second novel, Children of the Revolution, a revenge tale set in a dystopian Midwest, was published in 2020, appropriately enough. A sequel, The Night Prophet, was just released. She's given presentations at libraries and book clubs across the Chicago metropolitan area. When I asked her about what she enjoys reading, she said that when she's writing fiction, she prefers to read nonfiction, specifically true crime. And then I found out she is an elementary school librarian. To put all that together with the dystopian Midwest, she sounds like a pretty interesting character herself. Could you please welcome her to the mic?
I don't know how I'm going to follow up those other writers, though. This is. Am I good here with this? I need to lower it.
Pull down.
Is that good? Okay. All right. So I'm going to read the first chapter of The Night Prophet, which is my latest, which is a sequel to that Children of the Revolution dystopian, which, came out in 2020, and, whatever. Part 1, Vox, year 82, December. Surely whoever speaks to me in the right voice, him or her I shall follow, as the water follows the moon, silently, with fluid steps, anywhere around the globe, was Walt Whitman from Voices in 1871. Chapter 1, A Vox in Twilight. It's the vox he covets, or so he tells himself. Not the body, not the face, not the long-legged strut with a certain swagger, a tantalizing assuredness that suggests she's been broken, maybe to the core, and come out stronger, has had her world rocked and is now out to rock the world. But that does intrigue him. But he's warned himself to put it aside for now. For now, the primary driver is the vox. Soothing to the ear, like a blend of honey and homebrew is soothing to the throat. Oozily smooth, but with a bite, an afterburn on the way down. He's dreamt of a vox in the night, a siren song, a banshee wail, a cry from the heart, a vox with the will to break through, to bash walls, smash bricks, shatter glass, to tear down the curtains that separate the flesh from the spirit. He's dreamt of whispers to wind through the narrow passages that lead from the brain to the heart. Has dreamt of pain, of tears, of nightmares. Nightmares induced by, brought forth by this vox, beautiful and terrifying as the lightning that arcs across the sky. He knows of a story, a legend, a myth, handed down through the millennia. Words passed from vox to vox, from ear to ear. A story long lost, except to the memes and those lucky enough to hear it from their lips. A story of a face that launched 1,000 ships and left a fabled city in ruins. A face that inspired men to madness. But what of a vox? A vox disembodied. A vox that leaves it to the listener's imagination to conjure the face. What havoc might that wreak? Since the leaves began to turn, he's played the spy, watching her go through the motion of her days. In Dealer's Alley, haggling with the bartering rats, bent over a bike, wielding her wrench like an artist wields a paintbrush. Wrestling with a recalcitrant generator, fingers black with grease, wandering the aisles of the Galt Mart, those same fingers spotless, snaking out and surreptitiously tucking a sweet down the waistband of her jeans. She always pays for the staples, the rice, the beans, the flowers, flashing the vouchers she's earned in exchange for her services, but the little sweet treats, those she steals. He's idled for hours here in the park that borders the strip of the beach. She comes here 2 or 3 times a week with the toddler and the young man in tow, even on the knife-cold days when the polar vortex dips south, bringing the bone-chilling freeze along with it. While the man and the child frolic, she sits on the bench nearest the beach, just the black ribbon of a bike path separating it from the sand and the forbidding steel-gray expanse of Lake Superior. Positions herself in the middle of it, her lithe body wrapped in a sleek down jacket, obviously a swag hand-me-down, one leg bent, tucked in close, her chin resting on her knee, staring out at the water from behind a pair of blackout shades. Or, he imagines, she's staring. For all he knows, watching her from afar, her eyes might be closed as she dozes in an afternoon siesta. Occasionally, very occasionally, she'll be the one pushing the toddler in the swing. And then it's not a frolic, but a lesson aimed at eventually relieving herself of the task. Pump with your legs, get going. Stretch them out, pull them in, stretch out, pull in, that's it, she orders. The honey and the bite in that vox enticing, goading, willing the little girl's limbs into obedience. The trio usually leave as they arrive, hand in hand, the little one in the middle, her turbulence of black curls bouncing and her short legs churning to match the other strides, until she whines and the young man scoops her up and settles her on his shoulders. She always squeals, pumping her blue-mittened fist, a queen clutching an imaginary scepter, straddling the world. But not today. Today, the femme perches on the bench, back to her companions, resistant to their entreaties to join them. And when they are tired and presumably hungry for supper, she waves them away. After a pause, they wander down the smooth asphalt path that winds out of the park, back toward the manse and the town beyond. A part of him, the part that his mother, often called bold as brass, wants to sidle over to the bench and settle his lanky frame down on one edge or the other just to see her reaction. Would she hop up and leave? Unfold her leg and give him the once-over from behind those shades? Tell him to frack off? The bitter in her vox overwhelming the sweet. Fortune favors the bold. Or so he tells himself, another of his mother's sayings, but he waits and waits until the sun eases down past the towering firs and oaks that border the western edge of the park, until his legs start to stiffen and his back to ache in its casual slump against the unforgiving slats of the bench he occupies. Until he's cleaned every piece of bike gear in his backpack 3 times. His excuse for sitting there, wiping, oiling, re-wiping, stowing them in the pack, taking them out again. All the while watching, observing, waiting to take his cue from her. When she does finally move, it is the slow unfolding of a butterfly out of a chrysalis. The stretch of a leg, the flex of an arm, the luxurious arch of the back before the body is set into full motion in that sauntering, long-legged stride that he admires, like a swag might admire the gait of a fine piece of horseflesh. He waits to make his move until there's a bit of distance, until she's on the path. And then he swings his own long legs into motion, knee joints cracking, out of the park, on the streets of town. The bees are sparse, most of the workers already ensconced in their personal hives, swags tucked away in their manses. Bayfield is a smallish enclave to begin with, and it's late, nearly curfew, which drops so quickly in winter. Fly away home. She's not in a hurry. Pauses to peer in the darkened shop windows. The place is where The imminent parentals awaiting their spawn bestowals drop V-cards on quaint trinkets crafted by the locals, beach glass bracelets, beeswax candles, how apropos, studded with the needle-like leaves of lavender or balsam. Adorable embroidered bibs and tiny onesies fashioned in androgynous grays and greens. He knows the route by heart. So when she turns down the alley between the bakery and the Oilers, where the sweet aromas of sugar, yeast, and butter compete with the bracing scents of bergamot and wintergreen, he doesn't worry when he momentarily loses sight of the back of her head with its dark coiled braid, high like a sleeping serpent. Instead, he breathes deep. He rounds the corner, anticipating having her in his sights again, when the raw clench of a strong hand jerks his right arm and forces it up behind his back with a swift savagery that leaves him gasping. With equal speed, a fine line, a knife blade, steel sharp, ice cool, rears up, poised, menacing at his throat. "What do you want?" Her mouth up against his ear spews flames. Fortune favors the bold. Right now? For you to let me go. Bravado, he kens she'll appreciate that, or so he hopes. But no, the steel slides, just a whisper, and he feels a warmish trickle down the skin of his neck. Whoa! Her stance rivals that of a ball-breaking trap. He takes a moment to admire the secure hold she's got him in, pressed tight to her body, her foot keeping his splayed, pinning him off balance. Femme's got some skills. When the trickle of blood reaches his collarbone, she lifts his chin with the flat edge of the blade. Something to know about me. I never ask for anything more than twice. What do you want? He weighs employing the joke again and decides against it, like any canny man with a knife to his throat. But the steel of her grip only grows stronger as she digs a thumb into the space where the veins meet at his wrist, and the steel of her blade balances on the thin veil of skin that curtains his carotid artery. Yet he senses the tremor in her body, pressed so intimately against his. "Your vox," he states, as flat as a fact, expecting her to fling him away at the outlandishness. "You've heard that before, ain't ya? Someone's told you you got a lovely vox. And that man's dead," she spits. But he hears the catch. Fortune favors the bold. Not by your hand. A violent shove puts him on the ground, cheek to cheek with a serrated edge of broken concrete, a patch the sweeps neglected to repair, the pebbly bits grinding his skin raw. He scrambles to his knees before her and pauses, unable to read the look on her face. Her skin basked in the rose and violet glow of the early winter's twilight, her eyes still hidden behind those blackout shades, which she lifts, perhaps to get a better look at him. But it also affords him a better look at her wide-set eyes flecked with green and gold and a tinge of unease that she masks with a blink. Oh, she's good. "Who are you?" she whispers. "What do you want?" He feels the smirk stretching his lips and tries to restrain it, but succumbs to its power. "That's 3, he longs to say. Instead, he shrugs. "I'm just a pathfinder." "A pathfinder?" she repeats, peppering the word with scorn. "A pathfinder," he echoes, "just looking to find a way to remake the world." Thank you.